Welcome back, guys, to a new series here on my channel. So this one's going to be about the current programming project I'm working on. So I will upload one video each and every week, every Friday. And then I will kind of talk about what happened the last week, what I did, and what the plans are kind of for the next week. But today, as the first episode, I'm just going to kind of show you around the GitHub repository a little bit. I'm now on GitHub actually. T-x-t, txt was already in use, sadly. And there you can also find this repository right here. So this is going to be a kind of server-side program, mostly written in Node.js, for a website and a Discord bot, basically. And the plan is to then use the Discord bot on a Discord server, obviously, and then kind of go off from there, and also do like some game servers. So currently there's definitely planned Minecraft and maybe also some other games later on, like Victorio, for example. Okay, so I'm not working on this alone, actually. All the actual HTML website programming, and there's kind of a lot of it right now, actually, the majority, is done by a good friend of mine who is a lot better with HTML and CSS than I am. I mean, I can understand it, but I can't really write it right. Like HTML a little bit, but CSS is just kind of over my head right now. This is kind of like just the main side of the repository. So I want to make this series kind of like beginner friendly, so I definitely want to explain everything when I go along. So that's just why I want to show you around GitHub now here a little bit. If you have questions at any step in the progress, then just ask in the comments down below. I will always help happily, and maybe then I will just make some extra videos about some stuff. First, maybe what even is GitHub? So GitHub is kind of like a version control for anything text related, basically, but mainly for programming. So version control meaning that I can program something, I can push that to GitHub, I can make different branches of software, different people can come together and collaborate on the same software. So without something like GitHub, you would have to write something, and then you have to kind of distribute the current state of the program, and then if someone makes a change, that person would have to like send that to everybody else, kinda. It's like not that easy, but thanks to GitHub you have like this central source kind of where everything is there and up to date, and also like with version control you can just like update things that multiple people are working on. So here on the main side we just have like the entire code. So right now this isn't a whole lot. We have like the index.js script here, for example, which is like the main thing. And then if we dig into like the directory here, we have a little bit of stuff like for the website that is already existing now, which isn't really that public yet. You could theoretically reach it, I think, but not public really. Then there's like issue tracking. So this was some issue that I created today, actually 8 minutes ago. So that's a nice feature. You can track issues. We can remove that, and we can see like all the things that were in here. That does not sound quite right. Let's just remove that tag, and then we see all the issues. That was just another one, but I have already fixed that one. So that makes it possible to essentially just track bugs and like feature requests, stuff like that. Then there are also like milestones here. So I created one now, which is called Alpha 1.0. So the first feature, complete-ish version with the basic web server and the Discord bot working. So that's kind of when I can feel comfortable enough to launch the Discord server. And so that's then has this milestone attached to it. So I say, hey, this right here has to be fixed in order for this milestone to become like done at some point. So then there are like pull requests in here. So pull requests are pretty cool. And the thing is, you have like multiple branches here. So this was one that I created today. I didn't change anything in here yet. So it even says here this branch is even with master. So the master branch is kind of like the like functioning working state of the software basically, and then I can create like another branch, and then I can work inside this branch. So now I can implement like the Discord bot basics in that branch without affecting the master branch. And then when I'm done with making all the changes there and I say, hey, now it's time to merge that into the master branch, I can open a pull request here. We can actually remove that because there already were a couple ones. Yeah, here, let's just take this one for example. Add config file including port numbers. So this was kind of like the pull request that I created once I was done with that. And then you can look into it and you can like do theoretically like discussions here and stuff like that. So someone else would then look at your code, someone else who's contributing to the project basically. So even you who are not a contributor to the project, even you could go in here and make changes and then make a pull request, as far as I know. I am also not like a GitHub pro or anything. It's like my first repository, my first like experience with GitHub. So yeah, you can also look into here. You can like assign reviewers here and stuff like that. Projects milestones. So you could say, hey, I want to merge this in and for that or whatever. You can see all the commits. So a commit is essentially when I program something and I say, hey, now I want to save my work. So then I do a commit and then that saves the work and then also push that to the server essentially again. And I can see which files have been changed here. Yeah, so I can see, hey, I did the config example.js. So this is all green. So this is all stuff that I added. What is this plus? So I could like write comments and stuff like that here. Cool. And then in one thing I made some changes where I mean, yeah, this was basically now reading out port numbers. So yeah, when you want to start a server, you kind of have to tell the server on which port it has to listen. And yeah, so these were just hard coded in from the start. And now I added this stuff to a config file. So now inside that config file, you enter the port numbers. And then when you start a server, it just takes the stuff from the config file. So you can see I removed that here with the static stuff and inserted the stuff with the dynamic reading in from the config file, basically. So you can go through here, you can see which files have been changed, and then you can approve stuff, comment on stuff, and say, hey, you may need to redo this a little bit. Then I also like project boards here, so this is like similar to Trello or whatever like that. For example, now inside my to-dos here, I see all the stuff that I still have to do in like the near future. I see automatically issues in here. As you can see, there's like nothing in progress. If I would start on working on something, say on the Discord bot basics, then I would drag that into here. And if I have to give something to Explore, who's like doing the HTML and CSS stuff, then I could like give him a to-do and he could do his stuff, and then everything that's kind of done we could like push over there, and then it's like nicely looking. So you also can see like 7 done, 1 in progress, and 3 to do. So yeah, you can kind of get like a sense of how far you are. So typically I think I would say like project, and I would do like a project maybe for like a milestone or something like that. This right here is probably a little bit stupid how I set that up. Yeah, you could also add like wiki pages, stuff like that, and like different things. But that's not really that interesting, I guess, at this point anymore. So let's jump into Visual Studio here now. So yeah, this is just a random file. So we go over here. Maybe let's just make stuff also a little bit larger so it's easier to read. So yeah, I program everything in Visual Studio because it's just kind of nice, I think. It like has a lot of features in it, and it's also nicely integrated with GitHub. So if I go into the damn thing here, I can see, yeah, down here is all my like GitHub controls basically. So I can see like what branch am I in. I could change the branch here, and then this would like automatically do all the stuff to switch all the files on my file system. I could see if I have pending changes that I haven't committed yet. So this is like stuff that I edited but I haven't synced to the server, basically. I could also look at like pull requests in here. I could see like the files, and then you have like this view in here which just shows you like this is the original one and that's like the changes that have been made. Yeah, stuff like that. So it's a pretty fully featured kind of suite for doing lots of different programming stuff. Yeah, so now let's kind of start with the things that I've been doing the last week. So I set up the entire GitHub repo, which you could, which I already showed. And then I kind of built just like a lot of basic scaffolding kind of stuff. I can like maybe close a lot of the things here. So yeah, for the web server basically. So we have here now a web directory in the root of the program. So we have like our certificates in there, which we need for HTTPS. Then we have the web server file here, or this the program essentially for the web server. This right here is kind of like the main program, main kind of script. So it like does this when I launch it, and then it launches basically the web server here. And that's just kind of all the stuff that is making all of the web server stuff happen. Yeah, exactly. So this is just all the web server stuff essentially. So request comes in here somewhere. So we have like the HTTP server and stuff like that. So this would get call. Yeah, this would essentially just call all of this here all the time. So no matter whether it's like HTTP or HTTPS, because these are technically two different servers. Yeah, I don't think I have to go like too much into detail here, but basically we get like kind of the request here, we're working on it, we get like all the details of the request, and then we can choose a request router here basically, which is pretty exciting. And then we can call our handler. So the handler is basically the thing that is actually then working on the request and forming a response to send back to the client. And that's just like 73 lines of code, so it's not really a whole lot. But it's just essentially taking a look at, hey, what kind of path does the dude want? And now I'm going to search the HTML document that he wants and gives it back to him, or all the other files that go into a website, like CSS files, PNGs, JPEGs, icons, or fonts, or whatever. Yeah, and then the web server essentially then takes the response and then sets up all the stuff for the response and then kind of just sends the response back. So it's actually just like very simple, not a lot of code involved there. The real interesting stuff is really like the website stuff, I guess. It is like the index HTML. Wow. And yeah, you can also see how like Visual Studio is directly changing how everything kind of looks like with all the highlighting. It's also pretty cool. I can like open my tag here. I can theoretically see all the text that are available to me. And if I say, hey, I want to make a div, or let's say, hey, I want to make an anchor tag, then I see all my like parameters. So I could say, hey, I want to make an href, so to that, blah blah, and it like automatically fills a lot of the stuff in, which is pretty nice. Yeah, that's kind of the stuff that I've been working on, like the basic scaffolding stuff, the basic web server, which is now working. Yeah, I won't show it now. We may want to do like a extra reveal, but you could also go like just on the GitHub and look at everything, because it's all essentially out there. It's like open source, right? There's still some issues that I have to work on here. It's not working perfectly fine right now, so I do have some issues with like relative paths that I have to fix. So the problem is if I if we look at the index HTML actually, so here we say, hey, I wanna link to the CSS file. So I wanna load the CSS file, which is like the style. It's a style sheet, yeah. So essentially the HTML is kind of like the scaffolding of the website basically, and the CSS is the stuff that makes it like look nice. And so here we're loading it in, and here's the path for the CSS file. So now it says here assets, so we are index.html. Index.html is in side of here, and that's kind of on that folder. And if I now say assets, then it jumps to there, it goes in the landing, CSS, and then it can have its general CSS right there, for example. So that's like kind of the relative path from like the folders it's in right now. And if I then have like another slash at the end, then that is doing very wonky stuff. And it adds things into the actual path because it's like a relative path, but obviously the file system in the end that has to read the file cannot work with a relative path. It needs like a distinct path which says, hey, from like root server, I don't know, node, blah blah, and this and that, blah blah blah, and then CSS at the end or whatever, and that like the file. Like it needs like a fixed path, not a relative one. And that translation is kind of wonky right now. I have to definitely make that a little bit better, so it actually works all the time. I also don't have like a secure HTTPS certificate right now. I will have to set something up for that as well, but yeah, definitely not a priority right now. Yeah, then we kind of come into the stuff that's planned for the next week. So next week we will do the Discord bot basics. So the plan is by the end of next week to have a Discord bot that kind of works, that can respond to some commands. I already did something like that before, so it's not copy and paste, but it's like kind of looking at the code that I have written a couple of weeks back and adopting it into the project, basically. So yeah, that's kind of the thing that is the big plan for the next week. And also first database integrations, because some data has to be saved forever and not only until I restart the app. And that's kind of the next big thing with database integrations. So for that, I will use MongoDB, which is a first for me, but it's definitely looking pretty cool, pretty easy, pretty simple. Yeah, maybe I will talk about like what we'll definitely talk about what that's all about in a future video. But that's just kind of like the first video. I really still don't know what the series is about and what it should be about. So if you have like any questions, any suggestions and stuff like that, then that's definitely very welcome. And I would really love to hear about your suggestions. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. See you next week, or yeah, probably next week, but then I also might do like a little video in here and there extra about some different stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, and then until then, have a great time. See you all then. Have a great time. Bye bye.